Ms. Collins. She is a certified life coach who specializes in, I have my paper, excuse me, self-love and healing from trauma. She possesses a bachelor's degree in psychology from University of Maryland and is a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Walden University. Her style of counseling interrogates in an unconventional approach with, come on, you got too many big words. And I cover
cognitive behavior therapy.
Yes, CBT.
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and finish that?
To facilitate individual and relationship counseling. Over the past 10 years, she has changed the lives of many people, from school age to elderly. Ms. Collins has used her social media platform, writing and public speaking to reach people and teach self-love and healing. Welcome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome to Kandy.
Candid discussion.
Thank you.
All right, so we actually been, it's a stand right there.
Yeah.
What I miss?
A lot.
We actually been debating on what is emotional growth. Well, to give a little history back, we've actually been friends on
You don't have to.
Facebook for quite some years, me and you.
Mm-hmm.
This is our first interaction that I remember.
Yeah.
Um,
In person. Yeah.
But welcome to the show. And then, you know, when someone tags you in Kandy post, I said, I know her. She's my Facebook friend. So I was pressed to say that.
Yes,
Yeah. But can
But
you
I found
please give us your perspective of emotional growth?
Okay, so to me, that's kind of a broad topic because it entails so much. Put it
I'll
on.
bring the mic closer to you.
Okay. Yeah, it entails so much. So you have emotional development, you have emotional maturity, and then you have emotional intelligence. To me, emotional growth embodies all of those.
Okay, so you said intelligence,
Development and maturity.
development, and maturity.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
what do
put
you mean
them.
by maturity?
I put them in that order respectively because emotional development starts in childhood,
Okay.
right? And then you get to maturity. That is you have to grow to get to that point.
Well, somebody at the table is still working on that, but I won't bother that.
Okay, so
Last name ends with Davis.
Yes.
okay, so I just think that from childhood there are stages of development like they have kids that throw temper tantrums,
Correct.
right? Why is that? Because they don't know how to handle their anger. They don't know how to process and express properly. And, it's this kind of an epidemic because a lot of people that grow into adulthood that do the exact same thing, as they would in childhood. And that means that they never grew emotionally.
So would you say shutting down could be kind of part of that as well?
Yeah, because what happens is we tend to use what we learn and our survival skills, our coping skills, instead of learning, who teaches us that? If you have two parents that didn't grow emotionally, then how are you going to learn it?
True.
Right?
Yeah,
And that's why I use the word epidemic. So now you got adults that's trying to communicate and be in a relationship, and they don't know what they're doing because they never learned it. It's like a trial and error thing.
So do you feel like someone who has it, you say emotional
Maturity, yeah.
Can be functional in the workplace?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because
I normally come up with that.
That is a great question. I mean, they can be functional. It all depends on the environment. So if you're talking about what kind of environment we're talking about.
Let's say something when they have to deal with employees and customers.
They're not going to be able to. They're going to function like that no matter what relationship they have. So you're talking about having a boss that somebody appointed them to that role, but they don't really know how to deal with, conflict or to resolve conflict. And so now you have an issue because everything starts with leadership.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
That goes back to the same thing as it being parents in the household, and everybody's learning from them. So if they don't know what they're doing, the kids are going to be the same way.
Definitely.
Right?
All right, so you said emotional maturity, and what's the other one?
Emotional intelligence.
Ooh, lot of people don't have intelligence.
Right, but intelligence,
so break it down to me.
Intelligence and emotional intelligence are different.
Okay.
So emotional intelligence just means that you know how to recognize. I heard you say the word trigger earlier. Mm-hmm. So you know how to recognize your triggers, and not saying that you automatically know what to do with them, but you're at least aware of them to the point where you can articulate or express that to somebody, right? I may not know exactly how to react, or if you know that you shut down when you become triggered, it's just an awareness.
So can trigger be words or actions, or could it be both?
Both. It could be both. It could even be something that's neither.
So what we were discussing earlier is if you get in an argument with someone and they touch your buttons, trigger to trigger, what should you do?
You should express that to them. It's not to say, I want you to change how you talk to me, but to let them know that this is what happened when you said that, okay. Right?
So if they refuse to acknowledge or take a step back or stop pushing your buttons, what should you do then?
So this is a twofold thing, because we can only control ourselves, right? So not only will you have to try to, now you know that you have a trigger. Mm-hmm. And what is a trigger? That's something that's unresolved. It could be trauma, right? Which usually it is. So it's something that's unresolved. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, but something that brings you back to that point. You can only control yourself. So if you express something to somebody and they don't care about what you're saying, is that somebody you want to continue talking to? Now you got to create a boundary, because you're not going to be able to heal it if you're constantly being triggered. You can't heal it at the same time.
So will your emotional maturity kick in? So you might want to walk away?
That's nothing wrong with walking away. If you know what's good for you, why would you stay there and deal with that?
Well, I think whoever's arguing with me needs to stay there. I have a lot to say.
If somebody arguing with you, they gotta stay. You know I gotta put the camera on you for you say that.
If you're having an argument with me, you have to stay there and listen to it, because I have a point to get across.
Are you serious? He's serious?
Yeah.
He's dead serious?
Dead ass.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I can talk about that a little bit. So I do know that there are, usually in a relationship, there are two different communication styles when it comes to conflict. There's usually one person that, just like you, they want to talk about it right now.
Right there,
you know, I want to
get the way.
No, we're going to get this over with. Ain't going to be no tension, right? Yeah. And then there's another person who needs to process things. And they take a little bit longer. It doesn't mean they don't want to deal. They might not want to deal with it, honestly, but they might know it needs to be dealt with still.
What I'm gonna say is, don't you come on our show talking about my wife.
That you're that person.
I'm not gonna sit there and argue with you for 4 hours.
Right.
It's not.
And it could be for a number of reasons. She might want to be more productive with her time.
Well, I have stuff to do with my time, but I need to express how I feel about something when it happens.
Right. And even if you express it like at that moment, which is fine, that's fine. It doesn't mean that it has to be resolved at that moment. So expressing something and having a resolution are not mutually exclusive.
She got a degree in this.
I feel like
you don't have to feel like that. I'm just trying to explain it because.
I didn't say anything.
But no, I agree. It doesn't have to be resolved right then and there.
Yeah, because you can let somebody know, like, you know, I didn't like this situation, or what you said to me triggered me, but if that person doesn't want to discuss it at that moment for whatever reason, it could be tired, you know, whatever the case may be, they can, if they are emotionally mature, they will say, we're going to revisit that later and actually come back to it, not just leave it
That's normally me.
Out in the open.
I'll say what I have to say and say, we got an appointment for tomorrow.
Yeah, and still be able to go on with your day and not give them the silent treatment, because that's a sign of emotional immaturity, right?
We both emotionally immature.
We're guilty on that.
Well, that's what this show for, right? So we can grow.
I remember one time this is a couple of years ago, we got into it. I ignored her for a whole week.
Wow. Is that, no, we ain't about to do no session right now. Let's say, is that common?
That was before we started dating.
Okay.
Before we started dating.
So you guys have grown somewhat to be where you are now.
I have coped.
He smiled right after he said that. I don't even believe it.
I have learned to understand my triggers.
Yo, that's good. That's good.
You got triggers?
I can't tell you. You automatically push them.
I thought you was about to say you're going to use them against me.
Oh, no, she already does. I think she already does.
I don't think you had triggers.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so what's the last one again? I'm sorry.
Emotional intelligence. So it's different from being like intelligent. You know how people are like book smart or street smart, or you can be intelligent in any aspect. But when it comes to dealing with emotions, it's like you're able to understand the difference between each emotion. Like, for example, being sad doesn't equal being angry, or you know what I mean? Like they're two totally different things.
Correct.
Right? So a lot of times people say, I feel this way, but that's not even what they mean. They might just mean frustrated, right? They say angry, they say upset or whatever. So emotional intelligence is just knowing the difference between each emotion and what you're feeling to be able to express that to somebody else.
You disagree? You shook your head no.
I don't know the difference.
I
have two emotions.
What are those?
Happy and mad.
That's what I'm saying though. That's most people. They're not even able to distinguish what it is. So how can you tell somebody how you feel or react properly if you don't even know what you're feeling? It's not possible.
I feel mad.
But it could just be, like I said, frustration, irritation, agitation.
Maybe she hasn't emotionally matured yet.
It could be a lot of different things.
We're gonna work on that.
We
get on the same.
I'm telling you, it's a huge difference, and to me, that's why I'm in this field in the first place, because I get so many clients that, first of all, I get a lot of clients that when they come to me, they don't even want to talk about themselves. They talk about whoever is significant in their lives, and I'm like, why are we talking about them? There's this
because normally they're the ones who are the problem.
But that you can't say that, because again, we can only control ourselves. What can I do in an hour counseling session about another person that's not present?
Well, I'm going to say, in my circumstances, I am correct.
Mad.
I'm mad. The camera going on you again.
About 85% of the time, I am correct. What's that? 5 plus 10? So 15% of the time. No, 5% is her. 10% might be a tie.
Oh my gosh.
You see? This is why I'm only happy and mad.
You got two emotions.
That's it, 2 emotions.
You know what?
But no, I think dealing with each other, I think we both have, like you said,
grown, yeah.
In our maturity, intelligence, and what's that one?
Development.
Yeah, the last time we got in an argument, I didn't even ignore you all day. I just ignored you for 2 hours.
Oh, so it's getting better. The time is dwindling. That's good. That is growth.
That's only because we rode together.
When I was married, when I was in, you silly. When I was in my most toxic relationship ever, he would ignore me for a whole week at a time.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there thinking, how you propose to somebody you won't even talk to him? That don't make no sense.
Sometimes it feels that way.
But
I feel like
he was emotionally immature.
Okay,
that's what it is.
That can be seen as immature. I will.
What is another justification for that? I would love to know.
You need to pay for what you did.
Pay? What does that mean?
You need to feel the effects of how you make me feel
without expressing it.
No, maybe I did express it, but then
But how does that give them a chance then to rectify it if you let them know, but then you're going to punish them? Hey. Because see, now you're borderline emotionally abusive. I guarantee you right now, if you were to Google emotional abuse, silent treatment would be on the list. Guaranteed. In some form.
You
I mean, I'm glad you guys can laugh about it, but a lot of times people do display abusive behavior and they don't even know it. They don't know it. And that's why the people who are being abused emotionally don't know it either.
It's too hard to give the silent treatment.
They said 64 sounds.
And that's what I'm saying. I bet you could probably check off about 10 of them like, yep, I do that, but you don't know. I mean, it's different when you don't know. You can't be held accountable for something like that. But once you know, now he reading the list. I mean, he know now, right? Yeah. So now you can hold him accountable.
I definitely agree. I definitely will.
Withdrawing sex. That's equivalent to the silent treatment. Because she want to talk and you want to have sex. So I'm not going to give you what you want because I'm mad at you. That's emotional immaturity.
Sure. Some of the things on here says yelling, name calling, joking, sarcasm.
I was just about to say in a sarcastic way. Yeah.
Everything. put down your interests,
Talking to each other.
No, it's not.
pushing your buttons.
Now, I'm pretty sure that list wasn't as long years ago, you know.
Yeah.
But when you start to abuse certain things, I'm not saying that you can't be silent and if you need time to think or just have space for a minute, that's one thing. But when you start to do it habitually, now you're talking about going to borderline, you know, emotional abuse. And I only say that because you have to look at the effect of it on the other person. Okay. If it doesn't affect them, it's not, you know, if it's not effective, you probably wouldn't do it. So you know it affects them. That's why you do it.
Yeah, they say they walk out, jealousy.
See, walk out.
Turning the tables, using guilt.
Oh, let me put it back onto that note.
Saying you have no sense of humor, blaming you for their problems, destroying and denying, shutting down communication.
Yes.
He
said breathe. He said breathing.
As you just said, withholding affection.
Yeah.
Let me see. Calling you needy, interrupting, codependence.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now that's my favorite subject. So
we need to come back to that subject.
Yes, that's my favorite subject.
That's a whole, we're going to do another show.
All right, cool.
Wow, this is a lot of stuff.
And like I said, it wasn't that long. It wasn't that long before because when I started looking up that type of stuff to see like what I was going through, like what is going on? What is this? Why would again? I didn't understand the not talking to me. It was so intense and it was just so long, such a long period of time. I didn't get it. But what I realized was every time I wanted to confront a situation, because I'm you in the relationship. I want to talk right now. I want to get it over with. I don't want no tension later. I just like everything to be happy all the time. So I would want to talk about it. And what I realized was he did not want to be held accountable. So how can I do that? I can either deflect, which don't work with me. As you're not going to win an argument with anybody in this field.
Do you believe in zodiac signs?
Yeah, somewhat.
What's your sign?
I'm a Libra. Wait, what does that mean?
Oh, I don't know. I know it's Capricorn.
Oh, yeah. I think that a lot of the traits do seem to hold true.
And I also believe, I've always believed this, most of the traits hold true is because from the time you are little, you are told you're a Gemini. And you are told that this is what makes up a Gemini.
Yeah.
So you continue that behavior through your whole entire life.
Wow. Now, that can go for more than just a sign, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but that's anything. That's the same as your parents telling you that you're a loser.
Yeah.
You're going to grow up thinking you're a loser. If your parents grow up telling you that you're a star, you're going to make something with yourself, you're going to try your best to do that.
Right.
So.
And then it affects you if you can't hold up to that standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just to backtrack, it says character assassination and also public embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go back and...
Because those are forms of devaluation. So if you are in I'm sorry, I keep doing the wrong button. If you are in a romantic relationship with somebody, I'm guessing how you got there was to let that person know what you admire about them in some form, right? So when you start putting them down, that is a complete contradiction to why you're with them in the first place.
That's true.
Right? So that's why it's called devaluation, because now you're devaluing that person for your own benefit, which is to not, to not feel worse than what they are, or to feel above them.
Okay. I agree.
Yeah. And that's how a lot of emotionally immature relationships play out. I use the term narcissism a lot. Anybody that's watching my live or knows me knows that that's a huge topic that I talk about. Because narcissistic abuse is not,
What is that?
Narcissistic abuse is basically a narcissist in a relationship. Typically, it's with a codependent. So it doesn't always have to be, but the reason that it's usually like that is because the codependent is the person that will constantly give and sacrifice themselves for the person that they're with. And a narcissist only cares about themselves, so they can't be with another selfish person. Right? They have to be with somebody that's willing to sacrifice their wants and needs for them. So the narcissistic abuse comes in when they start to abuse the qualities of their partner. I know you're going to forgive me, so I'm going to keep cheating. I'm going to keep messing up. Right? And so it goes into so many different realms of abuse. But just when you talk about the emotional aspect of it, it usually starts out with idealization. And idealization is a thing because when you are when you have two emotionally healthy people, right, and they get into a relationship, they don't have to say, "Oh my gosh, you're the love of my life, you're my soulmate," 2 weeks after meeting them. They typically have some type of boundary with that, right? Like, I know this person's cool, but they might have some skeletons in their closet, so let me wait a little bit. You know what I mean? You kind of tend to do that. But a narcissist won't do that. They'll idealize you no matter what and make you feel like you are on cloud nine every day just so you can drop your walls. And now you trust them immediately. I'm going to trust this person because they admire me so much. And then what they start to do once they got you hooked, that's the hook, right? Once they have you hooked, now they start to devalue you. And that means to put you down, to ignore you, to withdraw, to create distance between you, all types of things. It could, that whole list. They can do any number of those things, but it's only going to be what they know you care about. If you don't care, if you show that you don't care, if you don't give them any type of reaction to feed off of, they're going to try something else.
So what about the person that feels love is in every person that they meet?
Yep, those are the codependents. That's my favorite subject.
So do you feel like that is part of the lesser part of emotional growth, or?
Kind of, because again, in order to be emotionally mature, you have to have boundaries. And to have boundaries, you have to know that everybody's not like you, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's not like you. Everybody does not possess what they are showing you initially. I teach people about the 5 stages of relationships and how people don't usually get past stage 3 because the first stage is infatuation, and that's their representative. Right? That's just what they're showing you. So when you tell them you love them in stage 2, you're only telling them you love the part of them that they showed you, which is just the percentage. Then when you get to stage 3, it's like, okay, now this the real you. Now, I have to decide whether or not I can deal with whatever else you presented as a whole. And most people don't get past that because they try to change the person. I don't like this. You didn't used to do that, but this is who I am. And they don't change. And that's when they break up and stuff start going haywire.
I agree. The change part is always kind of a tricky thing.
Yeah.
Because you may want to, not necessarily change someone, but you may want to, I don't know, what Beyonce say, upgrade you.
Yeah.
You may want to upgrade some things about that person, but they may take it as though you are trying to change them.
Yes. And that's called disillusionment. If you've been you, which you have, for 30, 40 years, how can somebody meet you and in 6 months want to change a quality about you? Now, you can inspire growth in somebody. That's different. Or promote growth in them. But change is a total different thing. Do I need to explain the difference? Yes. Okay, so let's say somebody was bad with money. Okay? They just horrible. And you watching them and you trying to plan a life with them and you like, this ain't going to work if this is how they operate, right? That they've been operating like that their whole life. So to say, well, you need to stop doing this, or I'm not going to be with you if you're doing that, that's trying to create change in a very ineffective way.
I agree.
Okay? But to show them different options or different results, different outcomes that could possibly happen should they change their habits and improve their habits, that's promoting growth, not trying to change them. They still have the option whether or not they want to do it. And then you have the option whether or not you can tolerate it. But that's different than trying to change somebody.
Okay, I agree.
And that's what people don't realize. Like, most people are so territorial. I know you guys know some people that are like that. Mm-hmm. They act like they own other people. Somebody can be in love with you today and change their mind tomorrow, and they have every right to do that. We don't think about stuff like that.
I agree.
They have every right to change their mind. But we feel like we own them, or they're indebted to us because of how much time and effort we invested in them. We got to keep in mind. That's why boundaries are important. So you don't feel like you poured your whole self into somebody without a return on your investment.
But shouldn't you want a return on your investment?
You should want one, but you can't demand one.
I agree with you. You can't demand one.
That's the difference. We try to demand it. I gave you this. All this I done for you. I know y'all heard these things before. in
Yeah.
some capacity. Maybe not with each other, but in some capacity, you've heard somebody say that to somebody. All that I've done for you, and you just gonna leave and try to guilt trip people into staying into a relationship. I don't owe you anything. Everything you did, you should have done genuinely and from, your own heart. But not to make me feel like I owe you something back. No, that's crazy.
Okay, you're dropping too much knowledge. So we have to break, take a music break right now. You are listening to Kandy Discussion with Unrestricted D.
And Kandy.
And Ms. Collins here for tonight's show.
Emotional growth.
All right, we'll be right back. Feel free to call in after the break, 301-232-5700. Once again, the number is 301-232-5700.
Music break, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.
Going there.
Hey, lady.
There.
Let me see what I got on here.
It was plugged up. Don't touch it.
She said that's exactly how it happens. Yep. They keep going until you're broken all the way down. I ain't even get to that part. All right, I'm going to come back for the second half.
You unplugged it from here.